Good day everyone, and I'm Abrau. Together with Ms. Resa Jace Repayo, we are going to discuss about establishing a learner-centered culture by using teaching strategies that respond to learners' linguistic, cultural, socio-economic, and religious backgrounds.
This module focuses on establishing a learner-centered culture by using teaching strategies that respond to learners' linguistic, cultural, socioeconomic, and religious backgrounds. To better appreciate the indicator, let us learn the following key concepts in the context of this module. First is the learner-centered culture. This refers to a set of attitudes, conventions, and practices that place the learners at the center of the learning process by using varied teaching modalities responsive to learners' diverse backgrounds and relevant to meaningful learning experiences. Let's go for the teaching strategies. This refers to the pedagogical methods carried out through learning activities and materials that are designed based on learners' needs and learning goals. Next is the linguistic background. This refers to the language and communication system understood, used, and valued by the learners at home, before, and while in their formal schooling. Next is the cultural background. This refers to the learner's existing values and prior experiences influenced by the traditions, customs, and beliefs of the society where they belong. Now let's move on to the socio-economic background. This concerns the learner's combined social and economic status characterized by parental education, occupation, income, and expenditures, such as family structure, size, the wealth, history, and expectation, and also for the home educational resources and access to community resources. The last one is the religious background. This refers to the learner's orientation, beliefs, feelings, and practices that define his or her religion. Before that, here are some significant points about learner-centered pedagogy. The responsibility of creating meaningful learning experiences lies in the collaboration between the learners and their teachers. Establishing learner-centered culture can be framed by teachers who value the great role of learners during instructional process, promotes shared commitment to learning, and see learners' diverse identity as an advantage in developing a positive, inclusive, and collaborative classroom climate through doing any of the following recommendations, such as structure classroom conversation to encourage respectful and equitable participation, use small groups to encourage non-competitive ways of learning and encourage cross-cultural communication, anticipate sensitive issues and acknowledge racial, class, or cultural differences in the classroom when appropriate, model inclusive language, use multiple and diverse examples, personally connect with learners, provide alternative means for participation, respectfully communicate with learners, address offensive, discriminatory, and insensitive comments, perform a self-assessment, or take teaching inventories. Being responsive to learners' diverse identities also calls for inclusive teaching strategies that will ensure a higher level of engagement and a wider scope of accessibility in the learning process. In doing so, these are the following recommendations according to the Yale Center for Teaching and Learning 2018, such as consider racial and socioeconomic classes, give equal access for all learners, and supplement classroom discussion by carefully using learner diversity. Make classes relatable to learners and let them imagine themselves in the scenario by using different types of readings, slides, pictures, and other materials that can be localized or contextualized. Value learners' differences and make them feel comfortable in the class. Get learners' feedback on the learning process and resources used. Enrich your knowledge of learner centered pedagogies by reading relevant literature and participating in professional learning communities. Now that you are reminded of the concepts of learner centered culture and how you can bring such a culture inside your class, let us take a look at the following illustrations of practices. The sets of illustrations of practice provide various learner profiling techniques and exemplify teaching strategies responsive to learners' linguistic, cultural, socio-economic, and religious backgrounds. Let us start for the illustration of practice number 1, understanding learner's profile. Before selecting any teaching strategy that will best fit the learners, we must familiarize ourselves with basic information about them. The succeeding practices are put in place to profile the learners using the linguistic, cultural, socio-economic, and religious backgrounds by accomplishing the school register. It is a DepEd official document that records basic data about the learners. Completing the school register familiarizes us with our new learner's identity. Second, conducting survey with learners and parents. Another way to get learners' profiles is by giving them teacher-made personal data answer sheets or survey questionnaires. Since parents come at a different time of the school year, this survey was made in any of the following instances, such as during enrollment, Parent-Teacher Association conferences or PTA, honors assembly, when parents are specially called to the school to report their children's achievements, or during home visitations. Third, using class bulletin board. We can use a bulletin board to feature a learner every week in his classroom. Each learner is assigned a particular week in the school year where his or her identity will be showcased. The succeeding example is just one of the many illustrations of this featured practice. Fourth, consolidating class profile. Profiling learners in terms of their background can happen in many different ways. It may be formal or informal. Knowing our learners doesn't happen in a day. It is good for teachers to know their learners. Learners' diverse background is graphed for easy viewing and analysis. The information above help teachers in crafting differentiated and inclusive teaching strategies that are fitted for linguistically, culturally, socio-economically, and religiously diverse learners. Understanding learners' background is instrumental in choosing and using strategies that are responsive to their commonalities or diversities. We may consider the following: complete the school register at the beginning of the school year or semester, conduct a survey with learners and parents, feature your learners in the classroom by assigning them a week or a couple of days to share their characteristics, beliefs, and other cultural identities. Next, consolidate data from school forms, survey questionnaires, interview transcripts, and like to get a better picture of the similarities and differences among your learners. Determine how you can create a meaningful learning experience in your classes by talking to your learners, observing them, examining their previous school records, involving them in extra and co-curricular activities, and facilitating meaningful games. Lastly, modify your class activities to allow you to discover more about your learner's background.
Let's proceed to illustration of practice number 2. Teaching strategy responsive to learner's linguistic background. It is where teacher examine the learner's profiles, including their level of knowledge about distinct local vocabularies. Teachers should also consider their length of residency in the municipality, which might affect the learner's linguistic background. This aids in providing authentic and localized language remediation and enrichment activities such as determine your learner's linguistic background, involve your learners in discourses, sharing, or brainstorming activities on topics that are relatable to them. Promote cooperative learning strategies in giving authentic and purposeful activities. Maximize learners' talking time in the class. Collaborate with the learner's parents or family and community to enrich learning activities. And adjust teaching strategies to meet your learner's background. Next is illustration of practice number 3, teaching strategies responsive to cultural background, where teacher designs an activity plan which asks the learners to assert one's unique identity and to better understand other people. Through this interactive collaborative strategy, the learners' diverse cultural backgrounds are valued, highlighted, and shared. Since the teacher prepared the heterogeneous grouping, an equal chance is given for each learner to identify itself and its cultural identity as a significant part of a big class. The following steps suggested can be taken to successfully carry out culturally responsive pedagogies. Establish inclusion by highlighting how the topic relates to the learners. Develop positive attitudes by allowing the learners to choose between activities and assessments and let them showcase their values, strengths, and experiences. Enhance meaning by drawing connections with real-world issues, asking learners to use opinions and existing knowledge to address them. And foster confidence by offering different assessment modalities to demonstrate skills and understanding. Illustration of practice number 4. Teaching strategies responsive to socio-economic background. Prior to this lesson, learners are assigned to set an interview with their parent or parents or guardian or guardians to ask them about how they make a living for the family. The following essential questions should be answered by: first, what jobs have been identified in your small group? Second, why are these jobs significant in society? And third, how do these jobs relate to or support one another? Illustration of practice number 5, teaching strategies responsive to religious background. Using this authentic learning strategy, teacher gives learners authentic learning through conducting a personal interview with concerned couples from different religions. This learner-centered strategy also allowed learners to express their creativity and collaboration in presenting views from their interviewees. Incorporating content about religion into the curriculum, studying holidays and displaying religious or seasonal symbols, using children's literature, employing technology-based resources, inviting guest speakers who represent a range of religious groups, involving families by collaborating and communicating with them, addressing issues that may affect school performance, dealing with insensitive and intolerant acts, and engaging in a variety of professional development activities. Illustration of practice number 6, teaching strategy responsive to learners' diverse backgrounds. The teacher uses a prior knowledge activation strategy by asking the learners to create dialogue for given pictures. Hence, this is a timely opportunity for the learners to express themselves in the language familiar to them. Thus, a good venue for the teacher to identify learners' backgrounds based on how they interpret the pictures. Another way to integrate learners' backgrounds is role-playing and scenery analysis-based teaching. In the given tasks, the teacher specifies the situations that allow learners to express themselves. The learners' individuality and their local practices are used to illustrate the focused topic or concept. Providing inclusive teaching can be done in many ways. You can consider any of the following strategies to help you achieve the target indicator.
You have just learned the different key concepts relevant to establishing learner-centered culture by using teaching strategies that responds to learners' linguistic, cultural, socio-economic, and religious backgrounds.